So first of all, thanks for your time. I know you are a busy guy running many things. And so my first question for everybody on the project so far has been, where were you born?
I was born here in Canada. I was born in the Lower Mainland, Surrey.
Oh boy.
So I guess I'm a BC boy.
And then what kind of kid were you when you were younger? Like, were you always into fantasy and games and pop culture?
Oh yes, I was absolutely always a nerd. I was born a nerd. I've been a nerd forever. It's just soaked in over time, and it's gotten worse. I've pickled. I was reading a lot of fantasy and science fiction right away, and a lot of Stephen King too. So that really opened up my imagination. I've probably read some of that before I should have, but the sci-fi and fantasy stuff, you know, they teach you a lot of great things in the school system, but being able to go to any world and to any imagined possibility was a tremendous gift that I had throughout my whole childhood. Books, reading, so absolutely.
Was there a certain influence you had at a young age, like a certain game or a show that really like piqued your interest into pop culture in general?
Well, some people, I think they got hooked on The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings at a young age. That's very common to happen. For me, it was actually, I think, the two most influential, aside from all those Stephen King books, the two most influential creative things in my early childhood would probably be Star Wars, the original saga, A New Hope and all that. It was really just profoundly fascinating and exciting for me to watch that story, and also now as an adult I can look back and see a lot of the lessons and the values in that story that I didn't know were there, the heroically overtaking evil and all that sort of thing. But and also the PC game Alpha Centauri, made by Sid Meier, like Civilization type game. Alpha Centauri had groups of humans splintering off, landing on this alien planet, and essentially having almost just completely incompatible ideological disagreements, and they're all in a contest to understand this alien planet and develop strange transhuman technologies, the likes of which my little imagination had never encountered before. Strange stuff of quantum physics and hard sci-fi concepts that were really mind-bending to the young me. So I still think about that game sometimes. A lot of the quotes from it.
So would that be an RTS then?
It's like a Civilization type game, a 4X, like expand, explore type thing, where you're building cities and troops and exploring land and trading, building resources, that sort of thing. Not exactly a real-time strategy because it's actually turn-based.
Were you like an anime fan at all? Because I was sort of that age where like we still had the Space Channel and they'd be airing like Akira late at night. And again, like similar to you, I maybe watched stuff that was probably too young for it, but it definitely had an influence.
Yeah, not really as a kid or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when I was really young, I didn't really think of much of a difference between animated things and live action things. It was just on a late night TV network, and it was a movie like Indiana Jones or something, or it was some kind of animated feature that was just as interesting, and it was all about the story to me. I was never really a part of anime culture or any of that.
Yeah.
But as an adult, I've seen more classic animes like Akira and Cowboy Bebop and those sorts of things, and I like it a lot, sure. I think that it's great that with anime, for example, or animation in general, you can visually tell stories that you'd never otherwise be able to tell with live action, or you'd have to spend a fortune on CGI. And, you know, back in the day, you didn't have CGI, so what are you going to do? You can tell that story by painting it, by drawing it, and showing that visualization that you could never get away with in film, in camera.
This part I probably won't edit in, but I'm curious your thoughts on like the newer Star Wars properties and the maybe degradation. I don't want to say degradation of quality because some people like the new movies. Mm-hmm. I personally like the middle one because I thought they were going to combine the dark and the light force, and then they just retconned everything.
I know. I actually still feel similarly about the second movie of the new trilogy. They had one actually very good idea and one very good moment in that film, and they squandered it. They let it slip through their fingers when Rey and Kylo have their confrontation in the throne room after killing Snoke, or whatever the heck Snoke is. You know, they're talking about, let's do a new thing, forget the light side, the dark side, it's just you and me, let's reshape the galaxy in our own image. And I thought that was actually a really interesting idea. Like, that was the one original idea, I think, in those 3 movies. They had one good one. And then Rey just says no, and then it's over. And there's about 10 or maybe 15, 20 seconds of a very interesting concept and moment, and then it just goes away, and it doesn't really come up again later. Sort of dabbled with in the 3rd movie, sort of, but it's a shame. But overall, for the 3 new movies, I think that they missed the point. I think they missed the point about Star Wars. Actually, very importantly, at the end of the final movie, Rey's confrontation with the Emperor, when there's all this back and forth monologuing about, oh, I'm so evil, and no, I'm going to stop you, and all this. There's some line where Rey says, or the Emperor says, who are you to stop me, or something like that. And Rey says, I'm a Skywalker. I think that's missing the point. I mean, in the original New Hope, Luke was just nobody. Luke was just a farm boy. He was anybody. And so Rey, the idea of Rey in that trilogy being just somebody standing up to evil, just a regular person. And if you believe in it hard enough, or if you just have the right stuff, or have the right thing in your heart, then you can overcome it. The Emperor and all the darkest evil in the galaxy and all that. And they just preferred to go with the kind of, my parents were cool. I've got the right blood in me, or something like that. And it's not about the ideas in my heart. And I think that that's a real shame, because I think that misses the point about Star Wars.
I'm sure it'll be studied for years to come. Real quick, what was your favorite Stephen King novel when you were younger?
Favorite Stephen King novel?
If
Needful Things was pretty good.
What's it called, sorry?
Needful Things. Needful Things was pretty good. That's where the devil comes to town and starts selling cursed trinkets. You might have seen the Rick and Morty episode making fun of it. They spoofed that whole thing. Needful Things was quite good. Actually, you know what? It's not very G-rated, but Gerald's Game. Gerald's Game, actually, I think it's my favorite one, because the entire story pretty much takes place in a cabin. Just the one cabin. I don't know anyone familiar with the story, but it's not much of a spoiler, but a man and a wife go on a vacation to a cabin, engage in some interesting bedtime games, and he drops dead of a heart attack, leaving her tied up in the cabin. Nobody really knows that they're there, or that they think that they're there for like a month or something like that, so no one's going to come looking for her. And she's got to deal with this, the fact that she's unable to get out of the cabin, unable to even do anything. Just the whole story from that perspective. It's quite a feat from Stephen King to be able to do that. One character, one room, one setting, and carrying a whole novel with that. It's very impressive. My favorite Stephen King story, though, would probably be The Mist.
Both really good movies. The Mist also famously has an ending that Stephen King prefers,
I know,
which is one of the bleakest.
It's awful. It is absolutely awful, but it works. It works. Makes you feel very bad at the end of the movie, but I guess that's the point.
I loved it. I love it when you go all in, really commit to a direction, and I just love it when a movie does that.
I completely agree.
So after high school, what did you study in uni or college?
Psychology. It's a lot of different things. Business psychology. They made you do stats. They made me do stats. I didn't like stats, but I had to do it. The thing that I think was the most valuable thing from college that I learned was actually logic, formal logic, almost the mathematical structuring of argument, where you can evaluate things that are definitely true, possibly true, conditionally true, or not true, and like false. So it's a way to kind of take a speech, for example, paragraphs of conversation, and break it down and turn the words into mathematical operators almost, so you can. For example, I think one of the textbook examples was something like, most men are doctors and most men are tall, therefore most doctors are tall. That's like, you can break that down sort of in mathematical logic or logical symbology, where you've got most instead of all, or none. Those are just like plus or minus or division. You can have most, which is, some, all or none. And those are like firm statements. And then you've got a category of the topic, like doctor or man, and you can break those down into like A or B or C, like you're assigning just numbers and letters to these sorts of things. And then working your way through this now transformed conversation, or this transformed statement, and basically doing the math. Does this statement add up? Does this make sense? Is this true? You could say, there's lots of logical fallacies, like if somebody's out there saying something, and if you need to have a way to figure out if what they're saying is reasonably true or just kind of complete hogwash, and being able to kind of melt it down to its constituent parts, its constituent statements, its actual affirmations, and double check them, do the math. Is this statement reasonable or true or off the mark, or is it missing a particular backing argument? Is like you need to say a little bit more about tall people or doctors or something like that, some extra information that's missing. That's really served me throughout my entire life, actually. I think that's incredibly useful for building a foundation of knowledge of the world that allows you to compartmentalize things that are definitely true, or at least you can operate on the assumption that they're true until you get different evidence, versus stuff that you don't have enough evidence to know if it's true or false. You kind of just have to put it in a gray zone. But you can still kind of define the scope of that gray zone and just exactly how wide that is. So it's helped me a lot with my thinking.
Yeah, you mentioned you didn't like doing the stats in uni.
Yeah.
Now, you might be able to guess what my question is here, but...
What do I not like about stats?
Well, I'm assuming you're an avid D&D player, which
yes.
is heavy with stats. And is it because D&D is just fun and you enjoy it?
Well, actually, I'm gonna counter your assumption there. I think that Dungeons and Dragons and similar role-playing games are actually not that math-oriented in a fundamental level. I think that they're story-oriented. It's just the math is there or the numbers are there as a way of biasing outcomes. Instead of just making everything a coin flip, 50-50, succeed or fail or whatever, is your character stronger than average? Then you will, on average, succeed at strength-related things more often. You're better at it. So it biases the dice, but the dice are still fundamentally random. That's just to give a little bit of some excitement to the players and to the dungeon master and just to the game, so we don't know what's going to happen next. It's a little bit like gambling, where we spin the wheel and we don't know if it's going to land on red or black. The bias is just there to make us feel like we have some control, which you do, the players do, in biasing and weighting that outcome. If you could make red come up 55% of the time instead of 45% of the time, and then nudge it up as you get more experience or whatever, and keep that number going higher. That's kind of exciting. So that's the place where I think math lives in Dungeons and Dragons. Everything else in Dungeons and Dragons lives in the story, lives in the characters, the drama about why they're risking their lives going off and plundering a dungeon or fighting an evil villain who wants to hurt people. For example, demons that might be chasing characters, and the fact that they are the struggle of them trying to overcome those issues in a gameplay environment in the game. It's all story and narrative, and it's not real life, but it's still. I mean, we read books, we watch movies, we like stories. I think D&D is at its core and at its heart, it's about stories.
I like that. And then were you in a gaming club in university?
Not at the university I actually went to here in BC, but I spent some time in Australia, and I happened to live right next to the University of New South Wales, and I went to a lot of gaming activities that they did there. They had a strong, rich gaming club community there, including they did a lot of cool events, both like regular weekly stuff and bi-weekly. And also they did special events where they rented like a whole university building for a weekend, and they did a little mini convention where they'd have multiple rooms. This room's for that. This room's for board games. This room's for this special board game. This room's for D&D. This room's for Shadowrun and different RPGs. And it's just people start showing up at they book the space, and people individually book their activity event. Like a dungeon master who wants to run a particular game, they'll say, I'm going to be in this room between 4 and 8 p.m. Anyone who's here at this thing, or just hears about it, come on down. But otherwise, like, it's a whole building full of a revolving door of just games all day long, and a lot of conversation and socialization. I think that left a pretty strong impression on me.
Cool. Were you? I lived in Australia for a year. Were you there for school, or were you just there for the fun of it?
I was just there actually, my family moved there, so I came along with. This was actually still when I was in high school, so before I went to college here in BC. I was young, and I enjoyed hanging out with a bunch of smart college people, university folk, and playing those games. And it was great times.
How did the idea for the Galleon Gaming Club come about?
The idea for the Galleon Gaming Club came about because I had an idea, I had a vision for what I needed, what I wanted. I had a great experience on the Sunshine Coast, working with a good friend of mine at his game store, Game Point, on the Sunshine Coast. While there, I did a lot of hosting of Dungeons and Dragons events. I made a Dungeons and Dragons activity at the library, a recurring thing every week where just people would show up. I revitalized the RPG community at the game store. We had a game night that at its peak, I think 30 people showed up, which for sort of a small town on the Sunshine Coast is quite a lot. That's pretty much every nerd you can find. We had other kinds of gaming activities as well, X-Wing and Magic cards, so many Magic cards. What I really, really crystal clear felt from my time there was the sense of the location and the people. The relationships that I had with the people that I was playing games with, that I would see every day. Maybe I'd be working there, and I'd say in the evening, people would show up. They ask, is a game going on tonight? Is anyone hanging out? And I said, well, I'm here. Or, yeah, I think someone's going to show up. They said they'd show up around 6:30, so let's go in the back, play some cards together, you and me, chit-chat, and then someone else shows up, and then, come and join us. And it's kind of that feeling like Cheers, actually, where you've got a place where you're going every week or every couple of days or even every day, and there's the same folk that you know, the folk that you see every day, the folk that you have relationships with and understanding with, and you're playing the games not just to play the games, not just to do the fun activity, engage with the product, blah, 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 or even just to compete, like a Magic tournament or something, but because I liked playing with those people, because I wanted to know what changes they'd make to their Magic card deck, or how they'd react if we played this board game or that board game, or what's going on in their lives. Those ongoing relationships and playing with the people, that showed me a really good way to live, a really wholesome, people-oriented way to live, founded on relationships. I actually was kind of trying to get a club going on the Sunshine Coast before the crystal clear idea kind of came to me there. And I tried to get a club going on the Sunshine Coast, but it was too small, unfortunately, or there wasn't enough people who would be able to make it financially viable. Club needs money to run, and it needs space. So we just sort of did that stuff around the game store, and in the evenings and at many other times, it was like our club. It was our club, and it still is the club, I'm sure, to the people who still live there. But I needed to move here to Victoria to grow the club to the size that it could actually get off the ground and sustain itself. That was the most important thing. There's a little bit more to that, actually, because the other half of my desire to make the club was formed actually when I was living in Vancouver around 2016 during the first U.S. election, the big U.S. election in 2016 that we're all familiar with. Being in Vancouver, it was a pretty isolating city. It's hard to make friends there. It's all very cliquey. There's not really any kind of third place activity to go out to. You can't just go out and start having relationships with people, just make friendships or connections or see the same folk day after day, week after week, because you're probably not going to. Even if you went to the same store, the employees might be different week after week. You're never gonna actually create those lingering, strong connections with folk. And in some fit of despair regarding the election at the time, I asked myself, what can I do, or how can I possibly get what I thought that I needed of community and people around me and those relationships. And so the first idea for the club kind of came to me then, because I was doing research looking into history and what people have done in the past, and people have formed clubs and mutual aid societies for a long time, for hundreds of years actually, like leagues or guilds or clubs and clans and things. Like modern day, we'd look at the Elks Club or the Legion or Kinsman Club as these kind of membership organizations where there's an entity wrapped around you, an organization that's binding everyone together, that keeps everyone together inside of it, and then promotes and provides many services and activities for those members, and kind of can act as their agent or their representative in influencing the world around them too a little bit. Like these clubs, they do stuff. They do Rotary, for example, as well. They do lots of kinds of social engagement. The full idea of the club hadn't come to me at that time, but I had a good, strong inkling for it. But it was really crystallized from my time working at the game store in Seashelt, where I could really feel the value and the importance, especially coming from Vancouver to the small town, how good it felt to have those long-term relationships of people around me, how right it felt to live in a community where I know everybody, where I know the people around me. I know their names, and I know what's going on in their lives, and I know what they think, and we find a way to live together. And I think that the combination of that sort of nerdy game store activity-based stuff and the more communal sense of group that you get from a club and an organization like that, that's a real winning combination. When you combine those two things together, it really seems to work. I found that experience in Victoria since I founded the club, that is working, and that works really well.
So big question I have for you, I want to get into some fun stuff regarding the games in a second, but I try and do a lot of research ahead of time before I do the interview. You were hard to find information on, actually.
That's true.
So bear with me, but there's
a reason for that.
So you live in Canada, and then Australia, and then Vancouver.
Oh, you were doing research on me?
Yes.
Oh, no, I thought you were talking about doing research on the club.
No. That we can talk about too, actually. But so you're quite the globetrotter. So can you just sort of cap it? So I want to get this just straight. So you originally were in
born in Canada, born and raised in BC.
Yeah.
Born and raised in BC.
And then your family moved to Australia.
Yeah.
And then you moved.
I moved back.
And why did you move back to Canada?
Too many bugs in Australia.
Fair enough.
That's pretty much the reason. It's too hot and there's too many bugs, and I did not like it. There's spiders the size of my hand in Australia, and I didn't like that. Canada was my home. Canada was the place I grew up. I'm used to the rain, and I'm used to the winter and the seasons and all those sorts of things. You know, I'm also a nerd, and I like being cozy with a book and a fireplace. I like my computer to be able to run without it being 40 degrees in my room and making the fan spin up like crazy. I don't know what to tell you. It just wasn't the right country for me.
Oh, fair enough.
It's a beautiful country. It is a beautiful country, and I have some visions of some of the places that I saw in Australia just absolutely burn into my head. Tremendously beautiful country, but not the place for me. BC is as well. Canada is a beautiful, beautiful country. It's just a different, maybe more reserved or more stoic kind of beauty. It's a little bit more gray, but there's beauty in that gray.
What prompted the move from Vancouver? I lived in Vancouver for like 13 years, on and off. So I get what you mean with the isolation. Like, it took me a while to crack. Like, it helped going to uni and making film school friends. When you get older, it gets tougher, and I found I had to really make an effort.
You absolutely do need those spaces, those environments. Like you said, you had to be in uni and in that environment to be able to kind of crack into Vancouver. But if a person is not in those kinds of spaces, if they're just in a job where they go to the job and then come home, and they're not in any of those kinds of large institutions which make it easy for people to socialize, mingle, and also like kind of move through membranes of social groups kind of, then it's very, very hard. And that was my experience in Vancouver. I did not have my in Vancouver. I did not have a place that I was able to break into that really felt like a community. I had lots of great friends and events and things. It's a great city, all kinds of interesting things going on, but I was not able to find that community, those relationships, that village, and that I was looking for.
So then you literally moved to a village almost.
Pretty
like
much, yeah.
Seashell, was that very much on purpose?
No, actually it was not really on purpose. Vancouver kind of squeezed me out. It was just too difficult to make it in the city. It's just a very hard place to live. I enjoyed living there, but I thought that it was more prudent to move closer to friends and family. I had family on the Sunshine Coast, so I did.
Can you expand on the pillars and core values of the club? Because I know I overheard when I was sitting next to you yesterday, actually, that there was, correct me if I'm wrong, 4 sort of pillars.
The club is founded on 3 pillars, and I think that they're all very important, and some of them are sort of our secret ingredients, actually. So number 1 is dignity, actually. That is the most important pillar for the club and for the members, is that people who are members of the club or attending an event, they have an obligation to feel dignified when they're in a club event or space or activity. They should feel dignified. They should feel at ease, and they should feel welcomed, and they should feel like they have a little bit of power in their chest, and they feel like they're not just allowed to be there. They're not just permitted or invited, that they can walk around with almost like the right to be there, the right to be themselves and to feel comfortable in their own skin. And it's not just an obligation for people coming to the events to feel dignified, but also an obligation to give dignity to others. That would be our first pillar, and it has been very reliable and very effective at making sure that everyone who's developed a long-term relationship with the club, they all feel heard, they feel respected, and that even when there are differences in opinion or differences in culture or differences in politics or something, they know that the person that they're talking to isn't an enemy. The person that they're talking to is just a person with a different opinion. And not just any person, but a club member, a fellow club member, a person whose job it is to make sure that you still feel dignified. So no matter what they're saying, whatever the conversational topic is, if it's difficult or easy, or if it's just about games or about something in current life, those conversations are built on solid bedrock. And it's that bedrock of dignity. The other pillars of the club are pretty straightforward. We promote, we advocate for, we have a mission to build those relationships in our community, to build the relationships not just of people within the club, but to build relationships with the club with other organizations. There's many nonprofits in the city that are doing great missions, that are engaged in fascinating and awesome activities, and it's great that we can connect up our members and our awareness with them and participate together, be on the same team. And the third pillar is we've got dignity, we've got relationships, and actually I say most importantly, but they're all the most important ones, it's empowerment for the members. In the same way that they should feel dignity and they should feel, and they have a responsibility to give dignity to others, they deserve empowerment. They also should take it as their mission to empower those around them. What does empowerment look like? It looks like lots of things. Sometimes it's just an idea. Sometimes it's a shoulder to cry on or to get support during a difficult time in your life. Sometimes it's a piece of technology, software, training or teaching someone how to do something that they don't know how to do. Sometimes it looks like our recent project, we ordered a bunch of computer equipment from another nonprofit in Burnaby that provides other nonprofits with discounted computer equipment, refurbished computer equipment. We ordered over, if we were to buy it retail, we would have had to pay $23,000 for a bunch of laptops, desktops, monitors, and computer equipment for our membership. But because of this nonprofit relationship, again, relationships, and the structure of our club, the idea that this is our mission, we were able to get all of the computer equipment for only $2,000. So we saved over $20,000 and put that value, that $20,000 of value into our members' hands. We gave people desktops that did not have desktops in their home. And the difference between having access to a home computer and all of the internet and not is huge. It's in this modern society, it's enormous. It's like having a smartphone or not. I struggle to imagine how to live these days without a smartphone and just all of its incredible options and tools and capabilities that I have. A laptop, same thing. Going from having only a computer at home to being able to take your laptop to a meeting with people, to take it to a cafe and work, or to a co-working space like the Dawn, to be able to be mobile with that computing power and all of the options that that's available there. The computers even came with Windows licenses and Office licenses. It's an incredible deal. $2,000 laptop that our members acquired for $175. That's empowerment. That's putting power in people's hands and giving them opportunities through connections, through the club, through the relationships that the club has with other things in the city. That's a shortcut. That is a highway for them to be able to get something that they might need, let's say from a public service that they're not aware of, or that they don't know how to engage with because they've never done it before, but a fellow club member does, and they share. And now that first club member is empowered with working with other nonprofits, like the computer one, but anything. There's any number of possibilities when these different organizations work together like this. Dignity, relationships and community, and empowerment. Those are the pillars of the club. Those have served us tremendously well today.
And the computers, is the intent to allow them to play video games, or is the intent more just to give them access to the World Wide Web for whatever they'd like to use it for?
It's called the Galleon Gaming Club, but it is a members club. Organizations are machines. McDonald's, for example, is a machine that turns cows, potatoes, and sugar into money. That's the machine, that's what it does. The club and similar clubs that are around, they have different mandates. They're machines built for a different purpose. Our club is a machine built to provide spaces for people to engage in community activities, fun, leisure, games. It's also a machine designed to amplify their power, to increase their ability to interact with the city, perhaps, if they have some kind of issue that they feel like they have reinforcements in the club. Other people who feel the same, other people who can band together and can more forcefully make a case for changing this or that, or giving feedback on a bylaw or something along those lines. The club is a machine for creating dignity. Those are spaces for those relationships for the community members, the opportunity for those third spaces by having multiple events over the course of a week, like our regular events, or the special events, like our Halloween party, to give people those spaces and opportunities to make those relationships. And also ordering laptops for the empowerment and encouraging members to share and to educate one another for empowerment. That's it.
Because I see them all the time, so I know the group members are very eclectic. Like, you have a real mix of like introverts and extroverts.
Yeah.
Like any type of person you can think of, they're in the club. I'm wondering, for those people who are maybe more introverted, if A, gives them, a sense of community they might not have otherwise, and B, does it help them maybe come out of their shell a little bit more?
You're absolutely right that the club is full of all kinds of people. And that's by design, that's by intention, that's by desire. That's what our country is made up of, all kinds of people. The club is for everyone. It's for everyone around here. It's for everyone who lives in the city, everyone who comes to an event. That important first principle of dignity applies to all future possible members or people who just come to an event once just to enjoy it, just to play a game of D&D, and then maybe they never come back. But they will nonetheless feel that they are welcome. Whoever they are, however they might be representing themselves or presenting themselves or feeling like they can interact with the world. As they're an introvert, they might feel a little shy, or they're extrovert and they want to really jump up front and have the spotlight on them. Those people are the same people. They're both deserving of the same dignity. So the club is for them equally. And we try to adapt and to make our events suited for the members, for the people who are attending. We want to provide the things that people need. We want the events to reflect the needs of the people who come and attend. So if there is someone introverted, for example, who's a little nervous to come out to something, it's useful that the club is kind of got this low pressure, come in and if you want to be how you want to be, and if you want to just be quiet and just play a quiet game, that's your business. That's fine. If you can come in and just see how things are going, or even just drop in, say hi, look around, and then take off again, and maybe build up some courage to come again next week. Why not? That's just who you are. Because of our principles, we do have a lot of people who might not otherwise have decided to make like a friend group or play a home game of Dungeons and Dragons together, or they might have not been part of the same clique in high school, but in the club, there aren't those same kinds of structures that make them feel different from one another. It's really easy for people in the club to get along, no matter what kind of background they've got. Does that answer your question? Is that getting at what you're asking about?
Yeah, and I'm curious, like when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons, when players create their own characters, when you've seen these games played out, say if they are, have you seen it, the case where it might be a very shy person in real life, but their character is just a tyrant, basically, or like playing against their personality type in the game?